Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Avram Davis, the owner and founder of Unapologetically Avram, and thank you so much for watching this video. I want to give a huge shout out to my patrons, Laura F. and Brandon D, for joining me at the activist level and above. Thank you so much. If you would like to join, I encourage you to go to the Patreon page at patreon.com/unapologetically Avram. And you could also check out the podcast as well. You'll see the link in the bio. So I want to do a brief conversation about racism. Now, I have a 5-part podcast series that's going on about that's really concerning anti-racism. And the first 2 episodes really give a more broader conversation to what we're going over. This we're going to cover some highlights, but I want to talk about racism. And in the most simplest definition, what racism is it is a prejudicial attitude along with a discriminatory actions based on one's race. That is the most simplest definition. But that simple definition doesn't give a full discussion and examination of the power structures and the systemic issues associated with racism. So I really want to discuss racism in more detail and give a better definition. So an example of racism, and as we think about any ism in general, any ism, as I mentioned before, is based on a power structure and a system that advantages some groups over others. An example is ageism, which in America usually tends to favor younger people over more senior and older people. An example of this is when people who have been with companies for quite some time, as they get older, they are typically pushed towards retirement to make ways for younger people that usually are don't cost as much to hire. So that is an example of ageism. And let's use that example as we think about racism. So what is racism in America? Let's talk about it. When we think about racism, here are some ways that we should think about it more fully. If you notice, in America, 45 out of 46 of the presidents have been white men. And the question we need to ask ourselves is, as a nation, are we really convinced that white men are the ones most able to lead this nation as a president? Another example, as we talk about racism, is let's talk about the prison population. So I'm looking at some statistics here from the Pew Research, and out of 100,000 black adults here in America, 1,501 are prisoners. And as we look at 100,000 of Hispanic Americans, 797 are prisoners. And as we look at 100,000 white adults, 268 are prisoners. So the question we need to ask ourselves is, are we convinced that black people are more than 5 times more likely to be criminal than their white counterparts and more than twice as likely to be criminal than their Hispanic counterparts? So once again, I'm not trying to demonize one group over another, but I'm just simply saying, as we look at these statistics, are we as Americans buying that black Americans are twice as likely to be more criminal than Hispanic counterparts and more than 5 times more likely to be criminal than their white counterparts? And then as we look at the median salary from the Bureau of Labor Statistics report that they put out back on January the 21st of this year, the median weekly salary was $948, what this roughly means is that half of the salaries are more than 948 and half of the salaries are less than 948. But as we look at race, it's a different picture. The median salary for whites was $1,007 on a weekly basis. And for blacks, it was $792. And for Hispanics, it was $742. And for Asians, it was $1,261. So once again, the question is, based on these statistics, now, even as we look at economics, there's a more fuller discussion that we need to have. And these statistics alone really don't include for occupation, years of experience, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the things I do think is evident is that there seems to be, from an economic standpoint, to privilege one group over the others. So just looking at these three broad categories, that 45 out of 46 presidents have been white men, and for that matter, there's not been a single woman president. Additionally, we are looking at the prison statistics, and even though blacks make up 12% of the United States population, they make up 1/3 of the prison population. So they are roughly 3 times the prison population compared to their proportion of the American population. And even as we look in economics, we see with economics that black people are not making as much as their white counterparts, and Hispanics even to a lesser degree. Is this just happenstance, or is there a greater system that is in place? So as you begin to really think about racism, I want to encourage you to think about there are more broader structures and history that is going on that tends to privilege one group over another. Come back, continue to enjoy these videos, give a like, give a share. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on this. Thank you so much for watching the video.